Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I've actually wanted to do a video like this for quite a while, especially on this subject, and it's been a while since I've sat down and made a video in general, so what better time than now? Today I am wearing some of my Crazy Cool merch that I unboxed the last time we did an unboxing, and I said I was going to be wearing this hat, and of course she's here as well. So as you can tell by the title of the video, today's subject is DevilInspired still trash? You know, are they still my largest op on the internet? Because contrary to popular belief, even though it is very fun to have this one-sided beef with DevilInspired, you know, they don't know who the hell I am, but even though it is very fun to have this one-sided beef with them, I actually would like for them to be a very good company in terms of a good resource for new Lolitas to use. You guys know I have a series of videos on my channel called Lolita Tips for New Lolitas, which is to help Lolitas who are interested in getting into the fashion find, different avenues to help them get more accumulated with the different rules, with the different sub-styles. And of course, two of the videos, I believe I made two, might have been three, but I think at least two videos I made, the subject was on places to buy Lolita fashion from and where not to buy Lolita fashion from. And of course, the number one on my list of places not to buy from was DevilInspired. DevilInspired was notorious back in the day for not being a very good resource. They had bad labeling practices where they would label everything as Lolita, even if it clearly was not. They had bad customer service practices, and that people would reach out for assistance for something and they would either get no email back or the feedback was not sufficient, as to what the person wanted. They were very hesitant to give refunds. Sometimes they would only get half refunds and all sorts of other information. There were even individuals who claimed that DevilInspired released personal information in exchange for receiving a bad review. So there were a whole bunch of, problems with DevilInspired, a number of reasons why I didn't like the site. I purchased from them all of one time just to say that I did it, and while it wasn't a horrible experience, I don't even think it was necessarily a bad experience. And it still wasn't, my preferred site to use. All things considered, there were still a bunch of other things about DevilInspired that I don't particularly care for, but as I said, I would like for that not to be the case. I would like to see DevilInspired improve. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a bit of an update video on DevilInspired. So have they gotten any better? Are my main gripes with them being addressed? So that is what we're going to be doing today. I have pulled up DevilInspired's website and we are going to take a look at their page and see what's going on, and we're going to see if they have gotten better in mainly the main things that I had a problem with. The main thing that I really had a problem with was their pricing, because DevilInspired is one of the more expensive reseller sites, whereas I've always been a proponent of buying directly from Taobao. You guys know that there is a shopping service that I personally use called Spreenow that I've had no issues with in all of the years that I've used it, and I have a link in the description for the website if you would like to purchase from them. And there were other things that I will cover as it relates to purchasing and shipping when we get to that segment of the video, but I highly recommend just shopping straight from Taobao. I know it may be difficult if you don't read Chinese, but realistically it is not that hard as long as you can find the store that you want to purchase from. From there, it should not be that difficult to buy what you want to buy in using Spreenow. And I have a tutorial video for that as well that I also link. And again, I will also link the original video that I made on DevilInspired, and there was a document, the case against DevilInspired or something, and I will link that as well, so you can go ahead and read why I didn't like DevilInspired in the first place. But that is a lot of talking we have been doing. Let's just go ahead and get straight into DevilInspired's page now and see if they have improved. Okay, so I believe that I'm sharing my screen as of this moment in time. It seems as though I usually record my videos from Zoom, by the way, so it seems as though they have changed a little bit of how they're doing the screen share, so it looks as though I am suspended in space, like a VTuber or something, and the page is here before me, so I can't see myself on the screen. So hopefully it's coming out well. If not, I'm probably gonna have to re-record this, but if not and you're watching this now, let's take a look at DevilInspired's main page. So here is the main page for DevilInspired. So we're gonna go through and see if they have covered the particular gripes that I've had against their site. So the first gripe that I've had, which is kind of a minor thing, it's not that serious, but I've always had a problem with their advertising in the way that they push things as Lolita when they are not, or they're vaguely linking things to Lolita when they really shouldn't be, and it just causes confusion with new fans, and they can't really, grasp what the fashion is actually supposed to be. So that was one thing that I was not particularly a fan of. And looking at their front page right here, there are a couple of like ads here that I think are a little bit bizarre. They're not necessarily like claiming things are Lolita, but they're also like, I don't know, they don't like seem to really fit what is being said. Like as the screen switches here, you'll see one of the outfits that they're showing here, and it says, not this one, the next one. So this one says, it looks like something Furina from Genshin Impact would wear. And this one said, it's giving Venti from Genshin Impact vibes. Okay, so I don't know if it's just me, but no, they don't. Neither of those outfits are particularly giving those two properties to me. I mean, it's the colors that Furina wears, yeah, but does it look like something she would wear? The Venti thing doesn't particularly look like Venti either. So this just kind of feels like, I mean, it's not like the most offensive thing that DevilInspired has ever posted. Like, it's essentially harmless. It's just like a personal gripe for me. Like, I understand that you're trying to get like the weebs to be interested in the fashion, and as someone who does play Genshin, obviously I know what they're getting at with these. Like, they're not like the worst things ever. I don't see the connection they're trying to make, but this is just a minor gripe of mine. I really care more about if they're incorrectly labeling things as Lolita fashion. So one of the things that I also had a problem with before we get to that specifically is I've always disliked how hard DevilInspired makes it to find the brand, like the original creator of the outfit. Like here's the thing that they're claiming is a Venti outfit or Venti coded outfit. It's just an OG green outfit, but whatever. One of the things I've always had a problem with is, how hard it is for them to find the brands, because DevilInspired is a reseller site. They do not make the clothes themselves. For the most part, I have been aware that there is kind of like a line of DevilInspired clothes now, so I guess that's not 100% true, but by and large, most of the clothes on their site are not theirs. The vast majority are not. So like, I wanted to like pick and look at a couple of them to sort of see if that is still a thing that, we're having an issue with, because if you look, like you scroll up and look, and you just like kind of hover around, you want to like, if you have a brand in mind that you want to buy from, I'm looking for, because they used to have a page for brands. Like they had like, amongst all this stuff, punk fashion, vintage fashion, goth, steampunk, I'm not seeing a page for brands, which is kind of questionable. Why would you not have that? So that's interesting. So the first thing I wanted to do was check to see, so are DevilInspired improving upon showing the brand? So I've just picked out a random assortment of 3 items here. We're going to do like a 3 strikes and you're out sort of text. So over here is typically like the code on the site for the brand. So it does appear as though if we scroll down here that the original brand is mentioned. And of course, if you click on it, it will take you to a page for some of the items for that brand. Now, I guess because this is a sold out item, it does not show, but this is a good sign. They're showing the brand. Very much appreciated. We do love to see that. So awesome on DevilInspired's part. So here's another item. We've got the code for the brand. And we have got the brand name mentioned here. So again, the original brand name mentioned, we love to see it. Because again, now you can easily find this on Taobao, now that you know the brand name, and you can purchase it from there if you so desire. Again, that's like really the only thing that I would use DevilInspired for, because I mean, they do have like a nice assortment of items that might be difficult to find, again, if you cannot read Chinese and, can't use Taobao the traditional way. So if you want to use DevilInspired for that reason, I don't have a problem with that. So again, that's why I like to see them list the brand, and they have done so here. And the third item, you will see that the code for this one is inspired, because this is seemingly a DevilInspired original piece. So we have this simple dress here, not too problematic. I don't have a problem with the DevilInspired line. I don't know much about the DevilInspired line, but because it is the DevilInspired brand, not only do they mention themselves as the brand, they also have given the model information. So they've given the height, weight, bust, waist, hips. They say what size the model is wearing. So all of that is very nice. Actually, I do like to see this. So for the items that are DevilInspired original pieces, the fact that they're showing this much information, perfect. So one of my main gripes about DevilInspired has been addressed. However, there is a small caveat here in that, again, why is it so difficult to find the brand page? So like, where is that? the other thing, that's the other thing. Like, even though they're mentioning the brand and they're sort of moving away from sort of low-key insinuating that everything on here is theirs, there's still no brands page, right? Well, not necessarily, because if you go to DevilInspired's Instagram page, I decided to click on this because this is the brand Crazy Girl, which I'm wearing right now. So it stood out to me, and it says, shop now, DevilInspired/Crazy Girl. So I'm like, oh, so there is a brands page, right? And yes, here is the Crazy Girl page with all of this Y2K fashion here, not Lolita in any regard. So again, they're not labeling it as Lolita, which is fine, but I'm trying to figure out, what about the brands page? And so if you go over here, there is a brands page with like a ton of brands listed in alphabetical order. Like, they have a bunch of brands. They'll mention if they have plus size. They mention if, Roji socks and tights. That's what Roji is. So like, they're very specific on what you're getting from them. So it's like, where is this page, like up here? Like, maybe I'm just blind. You can see that my vision is not 20/20 like perhaps some of you guys have. But like, why? I scrolled over all of these and I didn't see a brands page. I didn't see it on the main page. I saw shop by print. I saw shop by pattern. I saw shop by theme. But I was like, what if I want to shop like for a specific brand? They have everything, like shop by all kinds of styles for Lolita. They have like punk fashion, vintage fashion, steampunk, clearance, plus size, socks, tights, bags, shoes, and wigs. But I didn't see, maybe you guys can help me out in the comments if you found, if I missed over it or something, like the brands is listed somewhere. But it seems as though the only way to find the brands page is to like know the URL for it, or you have to go on, I guess, their Instagram page and click on their little, I don't even know if I'm pointing at it, their little like backslash here where they show the brand directly. But so it's kind of like a hit or miss thing. Like, yes, you are labeling the brands and showing them much more clearly than you were in the past, but even something like this, a blouse I checked, brand Versatile Girl, like, it seems they seem consistently to be mentioning the brands. Like, it doesn't seem like they're trying to hide that. Like, here's that Farina-esque outfit. It just looks like military core to me, so I'm not really seeing the Farina of it all, other than the fact that how you've styled the model. But again, not the biggest complaint that I have in the world. But even here, they show the brand name for it. They show the brand name for the quote-unquote Venti-coated outfit as well. So they show the brand, they show like it's OG fashion. They've gotten a lot better at like their labeling, at mentioning all of the brands. They're no longer hiding them or making them difficult to find, except for what appears to be the main brand page. So that is something, if I could see like DevilInspired just reach like peak perfection, it would be great if this brand's page was a little bit more easy to find, a little bit more easy to locate. Again, maybe I'm just missing it. Maybe it is somewhere. But I scrolled all the way down on the homepage and I don't see brands listed anywhere. I mean, they have all these nice blogs. They have, oh wait, here it is. Here is the brands page. So at the very, very bottom, after everything else, it seems as though this is where the brands page is. So, okay, I'm gonna admit, they do have the brands page. It would be nice if this was a little bit easier to find, based on, just personal experience when using websites. I mean, I feel like most people are not scrolling all the way down here unless they literally just are looking for this. 90% of the time, if you're scrolling all the way to the bottom, you are looking for this or you are looking for this. So these are usually what you're looking for. Most people are not scrolling all the way down to look for brands in this, very tiny font like everything else. It's just kind of hidden down here. So, but it is there. I will admit that it is there, but it would be nice if it was, up here, just make another one of these little tiny icons, just say brands, have it at the top, no big deal. So, okay, it does on the homepage. Good. I'm happy to see that. It still is, I will still say that it's kind of hard to find. You have to scroll all the way to the bottom, very small print. I didn't see it the first time. It would be nice if it was up here. So we will see that DevilInspired has improved upon that. So they have gotten better at their, difficulty in showing brands, which in the past was a problem. So now let's see about the other main gripe that I have, which is honestly the biggest gripe that I had with DevilInspired, is their pricing. So I decided to go to Crazy Girl because I've been into their stuff recently, and I decided to just pick one item at random because I actually was just looking at this skirt on Taobao. Now, one of the things that I think is interesting that DevilInspired has done in recent years, I've noticed this, like, as far as last year they were doing this, they separate items by like the color. because like this skirt comes in like a couple different colors. Like this is the other two colors it comes in, like pink and black and like black and pink, so like reversed. And they list them all as a separate item. Now, I don't know if this is because people were having issues with accidentally ordering the wrong color of something. I have absolutely no idea, but they have separated them to the max. Like, you cannot possibly make this mistake at this point. So I don't really have a particularly specific opinion on that. You know, if that's what they want to do, that's fine. I think it's interesting. I feel like it'd be easier to have them all together, but maybe they just want more pages. I don't know. But this is the item that I decided to look at, and as you can see on DevilInspired's page, it is listed at $47.93. So a little bit much for just a skirt, but you know, maybe, you know, you're getting into this fashion. Your expectation is that, you know, indie fashions like J fashion are going to be a little bit more expensive. So you might not think much of that, but this is again just a little bit overpriced for my taste, and I will show you why. So if you will look here, I have gone to the original Taobao page for this item on the Crazy Girl website. This is the same skirt, and as you can see on Taobao, they list all three of the skirts on the same page, but this is the same skirt that we were just looking at a second ago. And like I said before in my previous video on how to purchase from Taobao directly, what you would basically do is you would take this URL up here and you would bring it over here to the Spreenow website. You would put it in this search bar up here, and then it will bring the page up for you, and you can see that item in all three colors that it has available, all the sizes, and this is for any item that you choose to purchase. Now, it shows the price, of course, in yuan because Taobao is a Chinese company, and if you hover over, it will just convert it to both USD, Singaporean dollars, and Hong Kong dollars. So this is actually about $20 USD. So if you were to want to purchase this, you would of course add it to your cart and go through the process of, you know, purchasing it. There would be a bit of a service fee, the postage, which is about 2 USD. So it'd be about $22, I guess. And then after the item arrived, they would weigh it and you would have it shipped out to you based on how much it weighs. Now, shipping from China specifically, currently, at least in the United States, is kind of a little bit wacky. So this is going to be information that's only particularly relevant to people who live in the United States and the current time. So this situation might be solved like in a few months, maybe a year from now. I have no idea, but if you're in any other country, this probably doesn't mean much to you about the shipping price possibly being more, but like in any other country, you would probably just pay like how much it weighs and it would ship directly to you. So all that really matters is comparing this price to DevilInspired's price. So if I was to buy something like this, I imagine the shipping would probably be like maybe a little less than $20 if it's just one skirt. Depending, it could be about 20. So overall, maybe you'd spend around $40. And that's if it's even 20. Like it might be less. Again, in a typical situation, not regarding like the current situation of purchasing from China. And if you're in another country right now. So now we're going to go back and look at this on DevilInspired's website. So we have come back over here on DevilInspired's website. So just for the sake of example, I have added this to my cart and I'm going to go ahead and go for the checkout. And if you were looking at this, you know, just like this, you might think, oh, so is there any shipping fee? Like maybe they've added the shipping fee into the total, like a Glitzy Wonderland, because that's what Glitzy Wonderland does. They claim that they have free shipping, but realistically, they've just added the shipping price into the price of the item. So it appears as though you don't pay any shipping. So you might think, oh, I'm in the storm. They have already done that for me. So the price is more or less going to be the same thing as it was if you were to buy it from Spreenow. So you're really just mad over nothing. And so you might think that, and you'd be wrong. So like, let's just use that as an example. So I've added everything into the cart. Gonna go ahead and check it out. And I'm not signed in or anything, so you may think, look, even here on the checkout page, it's not listing any additional information. They have clearly already added the shipping into the price of the item. But if you so much as just go over here and suggest, and let's just say for the sake of example, you live in California. Oh, well, look at that. Now the shipping is 20 USD. Okay, so as opposed to on Spreenow, where you're probably paying about $40 total, if the shipping is, let's just say for the sake of example, $20, not taking anything else into account, you're paying $67.93 for the exact same item that you could have purchased on another site for probably around $20 less. And this is even if you're in the United States and blessed enough to live on the actual like frame of the actual land mass. Like God forbid you live in Alaska, because you're paying $55 for the shipping if you live there or in Hawaii. So God forbid you want to actually purchase from them, because now you're paying $103 when someone else might be paying $40. And again, you know, this could be, you know, obviously, depending on where you live, where you're shipping, obviously those things are taken into account. However, why would you go out of your way even to pay $20 more for something where that is not really necessary? Now, I know some people are probably going to say, well, you don't know that it's going to be $20 buying from Spreenow, and I don't know that. However, I'm speaking from experience of past purchases. I have been purchasing from Spreenow for probably like 2 or 3 years at this point, maybe 4 years at this point, and I generally know how much the shipping for something is going to be. Like if I was buying some shoes are heavy, so the shipping for them is going to be like, maybe the shipping for that might be like $30 or $40. That's probably going to be a little bit more expensive. A single skirt is probably about $20 in shipping, like if it's even that. Sometimes I think my shipping has been like $15 for something like that. So I'm just speaking from, past experiences in how expensive things have been to ship from Hong Kong. They're located in Hong Kong, but it's generally around that. So you're certainly not going to be paying a $67 for just a single skirt, like unless the skirt itself was already super expensive. So this is still an issue that I have with DevilInspired that has not been rectified, and is, my opinion, the biggest issue. Like them labeling some random clown merchandise as Lolita is not going to be the end of the world. However, making people pay like $20 more for something that they could get cheaper elsewhere, because the only real benefit you're getting is that it's in English, because that's, you can also change the language of DevilInspired, I think, to like, German, Spanish, and whatever. But the point is, it would be like more accessible is what I'm getting at here. So the only real benefit that is for any of these reseller sites, like all of the many reseller sites that exist, the only real benefit that you're getting from it is that it's easier for you to understand than buying from Taobao if you don't read Chinese. And I do understand that, and I do get that some people are willing to pay more for something being a little bit more easy. But I'm just going to be, upfront here. I don't particularly agree with that notion. Unless you have money to burn, I don't think that for a fashion hobby that's already very expensive, that you want to be doing something like that, because this is going to add up. This, like, let's say you're buying like several different pieces here, and you buy a top next time, you buy some socks, you buy jewelry, you're buying all of this. Your order itself is already over $100. You're now paying like much more for shipping as well, like, because the box is going to be heavier now, so the shipping is going to be heavier. And the overall price, you might be looking to pay like $200 for like just a standard outfit. When if you were to, again, buy the same thing from a Taobao through a shopping service like Spreenow, it doesn't even have to be Spreenow, it could be any shopping service, you're not paying nearly as much money. So I've always had this as my main problem with DevilInspired, is that the price is just simply too high for my taste. I do still recommend buying from Taobao. Maybe some people think that it's just not worth trying to decipher the Chinese. I don't know. I don't particularly find it that difficult. I can just barely read basic Chinese characters, and I don't feel like you need to be fluent to like navigate Taobao. It's really not that hard. I made a segment of the video where I talked about purchasing from Taobao using Spreenow, where I kind of went over pretty easy ways to use the site and to navigate it. So I really don't think you need to expend that much brain power to buy from there. And I mean, if it's cheaper, I definitely would recommend doing it. So personally speaking, for me, I still recommend buying from Taobao directly. If you must use a reseller site, I definitely wouldn't use DevilInspired either way, because again, their prices are just a lot higher in general than the other reseller sites. Again, in my experience, other reseller sites tend to be a little bit lower. They're still going to be more expensive than Taobao because they have to make a profit somehow. But typically speaking, there's better prices on other sites, and you can still go and check those other videos for some of the sites that I mentioned if you are still trying to purchase from resellers. But at the risk of sounding repetitive, I still think that this particular complaint that I've had with DevilInspired has not been addressed. They're still, overcharging like hell for the pieces, because like I understand that they have to make a profit. I don't have a problem with them needing to make a profit. I just don't think that you as a consumer should give that to them, among the other things that are shady and suspicious about DevilInspired. The pricing is one thing that I just can't get past, and it doesn't seem to be anything that has changed. So at the end of the day, at the benefit for your wallet in the current world economy these days, where it's not that easy to pay for all of the things you want, I'm just a fan of making things as cheap as possible when possible. And in this regard, I would say that DevilInspired still is getting a thumbs down from me in terms of being a resource that I would recommend. Now, in that respect, those are really the only two things that I can technically test right now. The third main gripe that I had about DevilInspired was their customer service not being great, because there were horror stories from all over the place about how bad it was purchasing from DevilInspired. Like I said, I also had an experience that wasn't great. It wasn't terrible because I did get it, settled eventually, but it still wasn't great. The communication that I had with them. It might have gotten better though over the years, so I'm not going to say that that's not improved or that it has improved because I have not experienced their customer service. Like I said, I don't buy from them. I'm not going to buy from them just for the sake of this video because, I'm not monetized. I don't make money from my channel. Maybe in the future, but as of now, I don't make money from my channel, so I'm not really gonna, for the sake of the video, purchase something and try to have some sort of beef with DevilInspired's customer service. And just messaging them randomly doesn't really seem like it would prove a point. Like, the point is to see how helpful they would be in a situation where there is an issue. So because I don't know if they've gotten better or worse, I'm just going to leave that up to you. If you have purchased from DevilInspired recently and you would like to say if you've had good customer service or bad customer service, you're more than free to let all of us know in the comment section below. And, we can all use it as our own personal points of reference. But that's something that I can't particularly look at today, so I won't really bother with saying anything about whether or not that's improved. So overall, I guess DevilInspired has kind of half and half been improved and not improved, in that they have gotten a whole lot better with the brands, listing brands, making it easier to figure out where the piece of fashion that you're buying from comes from. But the brands page, like I said, is at the very bottom of the main page, and it would just be great if they could have it at the top, because personal experience, most people don't scroll all the way to the bottom unless they're looking for customer service or an email or something. Usually not when they're looking for brands, especially if they don't know to do that. Like, I would know that if I'm a first-time visitor to DevilInspired's page, I might be interested in the brands, but if you don't say that there's a brands page, well, that's not going to be on my mind that there is one. But if it's at the top, now I can say, oh, I can check out the brands. So I would like to have that at the top of the page. So that's one thing that was improved, but one thing that wasn't improved was, I would say, the pricing. I still think it's too high. And a minor gripe that I have that I just think that is not a big deal, but just something that I personally beef with DevilInspired, is the way they advertise things. Like the whole trying to link some of these outfits to Genshin, even though they don't look like them at all. Like, just a vague similarity. I'm just not seeing it. It doesn't look like something Spreenow would wear to me. It's not really giving Venti outside of the fact that there are shorts and it's green. Other than that, I'm not seeing it. I decided to go to their Instagram page because it's another place where they tend to mislabel things, but as I've done in previous videos, or as I've mentioned in previous videos rather, I've seen that this does seem to be improved. Like, they're blatantly showing this as Y2K. This is something where they're calling it forest fairy goth fashion. Back in the day, they would have easily labeled something like this as Lolita, but they're thankfully not doing so this time. Again, they're labeling crazy girl. They're not even calling it, like, typically they call crazy girl Y2K, but even here they're being pretty vague about it, which their discretion. These are some pretty clear Lolita fashion shoes, and they are labeling it properly as Lolita fashion, so that's good. This is something they're labeling as Lolita. I think it's either the blouse or the petticoat. I think it's the blouse, so that's fine. Something like this being labeled as Lolita, that's fine. So generally speaking, their labeling has gotten a lot better. So I will say that overall, the whole thing about labeling has gotten better. There are still some things that I personally wouldn't label as Lolita that sometimes they do. I'm looking at this because I think it's cute. I like blue and pink together these days. I don't know. I don't like pink as a color, like, generally speaking. I like blue. Blue is my favorite color, but blue and pink together I'm okay with. Completely random tangent. But their labeling for just straight up, in terms of advertising things, has gotten a lot better. They are not labeling everything as Lolita or even Lolita adjacent. Like, I remember back in the day they did like some mermaid type dress like this, and they were definitely labeling it as Lolita. Seems as though they're not doing it anymore, so that's something that they've improved upon. So I can at least say that these are a couple of things that they have gotten better about. They're not labeling things incorrectly just to get a certain fan base, the J fashion fans, specifically Lolita fans. Not even Lolita fans. They want the kawaii core fans, the people who like anything generally cutesy, to see everything as Lolita, because people love the Lolita label for some reason, still do, and they all want it for some reason. So they would label literally any type of kawaii fashion as Lolita so that people would think it was Lolita, and they're not doing that anymore, so that's good. They are being more transparent with the brands and not claiming that, or at least vaguely implying that the stuff on their website was created by them. So that's always a good thing. So two things that I had a problem with have been rectified, and we love to see that. But the thing that was the most important to me, which is the price, doesn't seem to be changed. And I doubt that they're ever going to change that because, like I said, they do have to make a profit. And while I can respect the hustle, in terms of just recommending them as a resource for a Lolita to use, when there are cheaper options, I just don't think that I can do that. So, what do I think about DevilInspired now? Would I recommend them? Not to buy from. I would recommend them as like more or less akin to a mood board. You know, they have a ton of well organized, well advertised pieces. They make everything look like appealing visually. It's very easy to navigate, much easier to navigate. Even in my opinion, I think that they're easier to navigate than Taobao. Once you get on the page of what you want to buy on Taobao, it's pretty easy to buy from and navigate. But outside of that, it is a little bit difficult to navigate. So I would recommend using DevilInspired purely just to browse for something like this, to figure out where the original brand is and to try to get to this brand on Taobao. So that's what I would recommend DevilInspired for. I wouldn't really buy from them directly. I would use the site just to figure out what the item you want is, what brand is it from, and then I would go over to Taobao and search it up and pray that I can find it. Because, you know, it's really like the pricing that I think is kind of like something that I can't look past just because I'm recommending it. Now, if you have all the money in the world to burn and you are more than fine with paying a little bit more just for the ease of being able to read the text in English, then I can't stop you. But if you're a newer Lolita and your budget is not huge, or even if you're not a newer Lolita and your budget still isn't huge, I wouldn't recommend paying an extra $20, $30, $40 because it's going to add up. I wouldn't recommend paying that much extra money just because the site is easy to read. I would still recommend going to Taobao. And if you need help with that, you know, I'm always available. You can leave a comment if you need help trying to like buy something specifically from Taobao or trying to figure out how to get it shipped to your country. I've had many people leave comments like that, like just random comments. If I can help, I will try to. But if I can't help, I'll probably like recommend you to either ask like on the Lolita subreddit because maybe someone else has purchased and maybe they live in your country and they can give you better advice. Or I will just say to reach out to customer service if I can't help you. But also, the customer service on Spreenow, they do speak English. So if you do have a question, you can always go to Spreenow. And on the sidebar, you can always just ask for assistance. So let's say you ever need assistance and you're on Spreenow. You can go over here to... I'll just go to My Spree here. And you can see over here, there is a tab with 2 speech bubbles in red. Actually, I assume if you're watching this video, you do speak English, and so if you go over here, if you have any questions for them, you can type it in English and they will reply to you in English. I've never had an issue with communication regarding Spreenow and their customer service, so it is relatively easy to contact them if you have any specific questions. Another thing that I like about Spreenow is their warehouse, wherein they will only ship it to you once you pay for the shipping. So if you're not able to ship it immediately, you don't have the funds to do that, you can have them hold on to it for a while and they will ship it again whenever you pay for the shipping. So that's another thing I like about Spreenow. But in general speaking, not to get too off topic with the original subject of the video, I still think that if you want to buy from overseas, specifically China, Taobao, for Lolita fashion, or even just other cutesy kawaii core accessory pieces things, I would recommend doing Spreenow. I wouldn't recommend DevilInspired, mainly because of the price. But I will say that DevilInspired has gotten better. I will admit that they have gotten a lot better at labeling things and at listing brands and just at being a better like source for like finding things and discovering brands and figuring out how you could better navigate Taobao. So use DevilInspired to help you buy much cheaper on Taobao. And I'm not a paid actress for Taobao or Spreenow or anything like that. I get like a small commission for Spreenow if you use the link in the description that I use, but outside of that, they're not paying me to say this, you know. I just prefer this. You don't have to use Spreenow at all. I'm just talking about buying from Taobao, honestly speaking. Like, you can use any shopping service. I use Spreenow. It's worked well for me. I don't have a problem with them. You know, you can use any site. You don't even have to use Spreenow. I just recommend it because I think it's easy. But you can use anyone. I just recommend buying directly from the Chinese site. However you get it, from Taobao or Tmall, however you get it to you is not important. All I recommend is going there and spending less money than you would spend on DevilInspired. So that is going to be it for this video. I'm wrapping it up here. If you have any personal experiences with DevilInspired in recent years, since my previous video, which was like 2 or 3 years ago maybe, if you have any like recent experience with them, let us know in the comment section. Maybe you've dealt with the customer service and you can tell us how that is. Maybe you have some anecdotes about prices. Maybe you disagree with me. In my previous video, some people actually disagreed with me about the prices, so let me know about that if that's a thought that you have. Let me know if you have any other shopping services that you would recommend besides Spreenow if you would like. And you know, we can have that conversation in the comment section below. So it was nice to see you all again. I am happy. I hope that the screen share worked properly. I haven't seen it yet, so let's hope that's the case. And let me know if you like it. If you don't, I will try to do something different next time. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.